Hi, everyone. My name is Sonia Colchado, and I am a nutrition educator with the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. Today's lesson is MyPlate, the Fabulous Five, as part of the Nutrition Nugget series. By the end of today's lesson, we will be able to demonstrate how using MyPlate can help you choose healthier foods. We will also be able to name foods that are not included on MyPlate and are called sometimes foods. We will be able to identify the 5 food groups and categorize foods into these 5 food groups. Later in the lesson, we will also talk a little bit about combination foods, recognizing what is high fat, high salt, high sugar foods that are not included in the 5 food groups, and describe these combination foods. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to talk about a brand new learning tool that will help us make healthy food choices at every meal. First, let's take a look at a learning tool that might already be familiar to you. This is the MyPyramid poster. What do you think the purpose of the pyramid on the poster is? If you said MyPyramid, healthy foods, physical activity, food groups, or anything similar to that, you are right. MyPyramid is the learning tool we have used to help kids and adults learn about nutrition by showing the 5 food groups, providing examples from each group, and also showing how much food from each group you should eat every day. MyPyramid is still a helpful way to learn about nutrition, but now we have another tool to help us learn to make healthy choices. This is the new learning tool. It is called MyPlate. Raise your hand if you have seen this symbol before today. Let's see those hands. Looks like some of you might have seen it, and some of you might have not. MyPlate helps remind us to choose the kinds of foods we should eat at each meal and how much of each type of food we should eat. Notice the red portion of the plate. It represents fruit. The green portion represents vegetables. MyPlate shows us that half of your plate at each meal should be filled with fruits and vegetables. It is important to eat different kinds of fruits and vegetables for meals and snacks to stay healthy. Let's take a moment to think of an example of a healthy dinner plate that is half fruits and vegetables. Now, do you think you can name an example or share an example of a fruit or vegetable that you could eat for a snack? I can think of a few. I'm sure you can too. The orange portion of the plate represents grains. MyPlate shows that about 1/4 of our plate at each meal should be filled with grains. At least half of the grains you eat each day should be whole grains. We will learn more about whole grains in another lesson. What do you think is an example of a food in a grains group? If you answered bread, pasta, cereal, oats, rice, corn, and wheat, you are correct. The purple portion of the MyPlate represents protein. Eating different types of lean, low-fat protein is important. You can see that the protein section of the MyPlate is smaller than the other sections, which tells us we don't need to eat as much protein as the other foods. Can you think of an example of a food that is high in protein? If you said beans, fish, chicken, lean meat, eggs, nuts, peanut butter, or maybe seeds, you are right. Hold up your palm. You can see your palm as a tool to help you decide how much protein your body needs at each meal. Another way to think about it is if you are eating a hamburger or a piece of chicken, it should be about the size of the palm of your hand. The blue circle next to the plate represents the dairy group. Examples of dairy foods are low-fat or fat-free milk, yogurt and cheese, and soy beverages that have been fortified with calcium. It is important for you to include low-fat dairy foods at each meal for strong bones and teeth. Now, we're going to create our very own healthy meal using MyPlate. If you have a handout, go ahead and take it out now. Or if you don't, grab a blank piece of paper and draw a plate on it. I'll wait. Once you're ready, we're going to start to fill in this plate with lots of healthy foods. Let's start with fruits. First, choose a fruit to add to your healthy meal and draw it on your plate. Remember that half of your plate at each meal should be filled with fruits and vegetables. This could be any fruit that you enjoy, like strawberries, apples, peaches, or watermelon. If none of these are your favorite fruit, think of another one and put it in the fruit section. I'll wait a little bit for you to finish drawing your fruit. Let's move on to vegetables. Let's choose a vegetable to add to our healthy meal and draw it on our plate. Let's see. Here are a few examples. We have squash, corn, peppers, or green beans. I like all of these, but you might like something different. Choose one of these vegetables to draw on your plate, or think of another one and draw that on your plate as well. I'll wait a little bit while you finish your drawing. Let's move on to greens. Choose a food from the grain group to add to your healthy meal and draw it on your plate. Remember that about 1/4 of our plate at each meal should be filled with grains. Some examples of grains that you can draw are whole wheat bread, whole grain pasta, whole grain tortillas, or brown rice. Maybe you like all of these examples of greens, and maybe you can think of another whole grain that you'd like to draw on your MyPlate. picture. Go ahead and take a couple minutes to draw your picture. I'll wait. Let's move on to protein. Choose a food from the protein group to add to your healthy meal and draw it on your plate. Remember that we don't need to eat as much protein as the other foods. Some examples of protein are grilled chicken breasts, grilled lean pork chop, grilled lean steak, or baked fish fillet. Pick one of these that you can draw in your MyPlate picture for your protein, or maybe you'd like to choose another one. I'll go ahead and wait. Now we're going to take a look at dairy. Choose a food from the dairy group to add to your healthy meal and draw it on your plate. You now have drawn a balanced meal with foods from each of the 5 food groups found on MyPlate. Let's look at the examples. This could be non-fat yogurt, low-fat cottage cheese, low-fat cheese, or low-fat milk. Go ahead and choose one of these to draw, or choose something that might be a little bit different and is still dairy. Wonderful! Congratulations on drawing your very own healthy MyPlate picture. There are some foods that do not fit into any of the food groups, and these are called sometimes foods. Examples include foods such as cookies, soda, potato chips, French fries, candy, and other high-fat or high-sugar foods. Sometimes foods are not on MyPlate because our body does not need these foods to stay healthy. These foods are high in salt, sugar, and fat. Eating them often can lead to cavities, high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease. You might eat sometime foods now and then, but not every day and not at every meal. MyPlate shows us that we need to try to eat healthy meals with food choices from each food group at each meal. We might not always be able to eat food groups from each group at each meal, so eating a healthy snack after school provides another opportunity to make healthy choices and eat something from a food group that you might have missed earlier in the day. Let's take a look at combination foods. Sometimes the foods we eat are made of several ingredients from more than one food group. These foods are called combination foods. Pizza is an example of a combination food. What food groups do you think are included in a slice of pizza? If you answered grains, like the crust, dairy, could be the cheese, vegetables, like veggie toppings and sauce, or the protein, like meat, you are correct. Tacos are another combination food. Can you name the food groups in a taco? Let's see. The grain would be the tortilla. The protein would be the meat in the taco. Dairy would be the cheese, and the vegetables would be the lettuce and the tomatoes. If you answered any of those, you are right. Are there any other combination foods that you can think of? I'm sure you can think of a couple. Some examples could be sandwiches, lasagna, soups, chicken pot pie, and maybe other mixed dishes. We need a variety of food from each food group every day. Combination foods help us do that by combining foods together. It's also important to choose foods from each food group that are low in salt, fat, and sugar. Let's take a look at the MyPlate taco dinner handout. If you don't have a handout, guide yourself with the picture on the screen. Distribute the MyPlate handout if you have it. What food groups are included in this meal? Think about it. If you thought about protein, dairy, and grain, you are right. What food groups do you think are missing from this meal? Take a good look. Yes, it kind of looks like fruits and vegetables are missing. What would you change or add to this meal so it followed MyPlate? Well, let's take a look. If we were to select a leaner ground beef or substitute beef with beans, that would be lean proteins. We could also select low-fat shredded cheese, and we would get our calcium-rich foods. We could also look into selecting whole grain tortillas. It's so important to make at least half of our grains whole. We could add vegetable toppings such as tomato, lettuce, peppers, onions, or salsa. And we could add a piece of fruit for dessert or add fruit to our salsa. All of these are great ideas. Here's a fun recipe you can try at home with an adult. We like to call it MyPlate Salsa. The ingredients are black beans, that's our protein, corn, that's our vegetable, salsa is also a vegetable, low-fat cheddar cheese is our dairy, peaches are our fruit, tortilla chips are our grains, and all we have to do is open up the cans and drain the beans, corn, and peaches. We could also use fresh options if we have them. We could open up the jar of salsa, combine the salsa, corn, black beans, 1 cup of cheese, peaches, and lime juice in a large mixing bowl. Mix with a serving spoon. And then we eat it with tortilla chips. Enjoy! And thank you so much for joining me today. Till next time.